drivers here are just heading out for the beginning of race 2 with the Mazda Super Series. We've just had a dramatic downpour of rain, which has led to a change of tyres, change of setup, everything. I believe we're going to have a very eventful race, but Andy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. Well, we never saw this coming this morning. This has been a real summer thunderstorm that has hit the Cheshire countryside, but race 2 still about to get underway. The way in which they finished race 1 is how they start race 2. So Jackson from Bailey from Orange and Crook the top 4, then Simon Fleet and James Kell, and Jeff Gurrier and Simon Woods rounding out the top 8. Then it's Patrick Collins and Russ Lyndsay, Andy Fagan and Liz Walton. And then those that had difficulties in race 1, George Grant and Jake Bailey, 2 to watch for moving forward, ahead of Javier Brooke even, and then Matt Pickford and Pepe Planeta, who never even finished lap 1. Well, there's been some good repair jobs done on a few of the cars after the dramas of race 1. We had a dramatic opening lap in the first race, and they were in dry and sunny conditions. It has more or less stopped raining now, but as you can see, the rain has done its damage, and the circuit is extremely wet. Lots of standing water for them to beware of. This could get interesting. The red lights go out. We are away and racing for the second time this weekend, and it's a good start made by Sam Bailey there from the outside of row number 1, and Josh Jackson going backwards. What's gone on there? Josh Jackson must have missed a gear or something. He's down to 4th place as they turn through Old Hall Corner for the first time. There is Russ Lyndsay and Jake Bailey trying to pick his way through as well. On board with Simon Woods, who can see absolutely nothing. Look at that visibility. He's in the middle of the pack, and the spray means that you can barely see your hand in front of your face. Down towards Cascades they go, and let's hope no one skates straight on here. It's easy to do in the wet as the track drops away from you, but it looks like they're all through safely. Back down the Lakeside Straight, Simon Woods has got James Kell in front of him, and I think Russ Lyndsay behind him, from the glimpse that I caught of the blue car in the mirrors. But as the rest of the field stream down towards Island Bend, you can see just how treacherous the conditions are. There's Jake Bailey, the purple and white number 14 car. Try and get through Island Bend safely this time. He twice went off at this part of the circuit in race 1, and he goes right round the outside. Now that is a brilliant example there of where the grip is in the wet. When it's wet, the racing line with all of the rubber laid down on it is not very grippy. The best part of the circuit to run on is the part of the circuit with the least rubber, and that's offline. So you'll see drivers driving around the outsides of the corners and making everyone else look like they're standing still, and that's exactly what it was there. Oh, Simon Fleet, that's a shame. He's had a bad start, hasn't he, because he finished 4th fifth, excuse me, in the previous race, and therefore started 5th for this one, but it's all gone a bit wrong at the start. So leaders turn their way through Hislops and Knickerbrook for the first time. Sam Bailey there ahead of Simon Orange, your top 2, with Jackson 3rd and Jeremy Crook in 4th position. Jeff Gurrier seems to be in 5th, but it is Sam Bailey that leads the way. Now, can Sam Bailey take his first win of the year? He had a 3rd place finish back at Snetterton, which has been his best result of the season so far. Can he manage to get himself 1, maybe 2 steps further up the order? Let's wait and see. Down through Druids they go, and in towards Lodge for the first time. You can see the standing water here on the road in the braking zone. Doesn't put Simon Orange off though. He runs straight through the puddles, trying to get the nice wide line through. You can see not bothering getting anywhere near the apex, just trying to find the grip on the outside of the corners, which is exactly what he does. Back up and over Deer's Leap, and it's all fairly close together at the front of the field, but Sam Bailey leads the way. Not necessarily the Bailey that we expected to see challenging for race victories this weekend, but with Jake's issues, it's been Sam that's taken up the reins as the closest challenger to Josh Jackson this weekend. But I'd be interested to know what happened to Josh off the start, because he really slipped back. The initial getaway seemed okay, which is what makes me wonder about maybe a missed gear or something, because he just suddenly, the acceleration seemed to go away and he ended up getting swamped by the pack, which is exactly what you don't want, with visibility being as bad as it is back in the pack. Look at Jeremy Crook there getting sideways in a straight line. That's how bad the standing water is down the Lakeside Straight. Leading 3 though, breaking away slightly then as they make their way in towards Shell for the second time. And look at that, Simon Orange all over the place as he was under brakes there in towards Shell, and Jackson senses blood in the water, tries to slip up the inside but can't, so settles back in line down towards Britons through this right-hander, and then brake, throw it into the left-right, left flip at the chicane. So curb still in the wet is Josh Jackson. You can see it's not slowing him down. If anything, that seems to be the quicker way through the corner because he's got himself alongside Simon Orange now for second place. It's the outside line though, down towards Hislops. How hard is Orange going to fight this? They almost bang wing mirrors. They're almost leaning. They do lean on each other, in fact, as they come down into the braking zone. Simon won't like that. He'll feel that was a bit unnecessary for Josh Jackson to do that. But Josh was just trying to take command of the corner that was coming up. He slides his way through Hislops, dives up the inside into Knickerbrook. That gap was always going to close there. They almost made contact. But this is all getting rather feisty, which is music to the ears of Sam Bailey, who is continuing to extend his lead now at the front of the field. The longer that Simon Orange can keep the very rapid Josh Jackson at bay, the better that is for Sam Bailey. In fact, the better it is for both Baileys, because if you look at the pair of cars behind, the first one is Jeremy Crook in 4th, but the next car, remarkably, from 14th on the grid already, is Jake Bailey. So he's into the top 5, and we haven't even completed the second lap yet, so he will be keen to get himself on turns with Josh Jackson as quickly as possible. There you can see Jake Bailey. Look, he's right behind Jeremy Crook and can't get away through in towards Lodge, but he's again taking that wide line. Oh, that's a bit too wide though there, Jake. That was off the circuit and there's not much grip there. So he settles back in line for the time being, but it's Bailey that continues to lead the way. Orange and Jackson, then Crook and Jake Bailey. Jeff Gurrier is 6th, James Kelly's 7th. And then who is it in 8th? Simon Woods ahead of Patrick Collins this time. If you think back to race 1 earlier on today, it was the other way around. Collins was ahead of Simon Woods. Well, now it's Woods in front, and Simon is going to do everything he can to hold on to this position because it looks like these two are fairly evenly matched. He won't want to let Patrick back through because he found out in race 1 just how hard it was to find a way past him. Through Cascade, you can see that wide line there for Orange, which seems to hurt him on the way into the corner, but then there you can see, just get the power down a bit more cleanly than Collins can on the way out, and the gap goes back up again on the exit of the corner. It takes some bravery to take that outside line because you're leaving the door wide open for the car behind, but also you're closer to the edge of the road, so if it does go wrong, which it nearly did there for Simon Woods, you have much less breathing room before you're on the grass. And once you hit the wet grass, it's like being on ice, and you'll just skate straight off into the barriers. But it's definitely the quickest way through, but there are risks involved with doing it, and that's why some drivers, Patrick Collins appearing to be one of them, don't particularly enjoy that sort of driving style. But in the wet, it is probably the quicker way of getting around the circuit. So back over Hilltop they go again, and you can see the sun now starting to shine back through again. Here's the battling going on behind. Oh, Sam Bailey. Now what's happened there? Sam Bailey has lost the lead and he's dropped, I think, down to 4th place. So it's all changed at the front of the field. Simon Woods is all out of shape coming into his laps, but we have, I think, had a real shuffle around in the order at the front. Look at Simon Woods. You'd think he was an entrant into the British Drift Championship, the way that he's attacking the Hislop chicane. Very spectacular. Not the fastest way around the circuit, though, that's for sure. Patrick Collins will be loving seeing that because that means that the car in front is struggling for grip, and maybe he can take advantage of that to gain a position back. Through Druids, they're about to go again, and back down towards Lodge Corner for the 3rd time. But I'm intrigued to see what's going on at the front of the field because I'm sure I saw Sam Bailey had lost ground. Patrick Collins, though, is looking up the inside here down towards Lodge Corner. Might be about to get himself ahead of Simon Woods, but Simon's got the grippier side of the road. This will be a bit of a drag race now out of Lodge Corner. You can see there that Woods gets the power down a bit better, carries the speed through Deersleep. Collins is trying to squeeze in towards the edge of the road, but Simon is having none of it. And there you can see again that momentum out of the corner playing into Simon's hands. Collins, though, is still at the inside in towards Oulton Park. There's a friendly wave between the two of them. No hard feelings, just good hard racing. And Collins goes back through, so good stuff there. Oh, there's a car from the barriers, though, at Old Hall. And I have a nasty feeling that that was Jake Bailey again. It looked very much like Jake Bailey's car that was off at the side of the road. Meanwhile, this battle is still raging because Simon Woods... well, Simon Woods is now back behind Patrick Collins. So Collins went through, then Woods got back in front, and then Collins got back ahead of him again down at Cascades. It's all changed around in this battle. Spent about half a lap side by side now before it finally settles out with Collins in front. So these two appear to have settled down for the time being. They turn their way back into Shell Hairpin and along towards the Britain chicane once more, where certainly looks like now he's in front. Collins is pulling away. Right, this is now the fight for the race lead. So Simon Orange has inherited the lead, and Josh Jackson is second, but he's trying to find a way through. They lean on each other again, coming down into Hislop's, and Jackson, well, he has to take to the shortcut. Now, he'll weave his way between the bollards, but then he will have to give that place back, I think. He won't be allowed to gain an advantage out of that, and indeed, he rejoins back behind Simon Orange, and so no harm done there, but that was some pretty forceful racing between the two of them. But Orange now leads the way then from Jackson's second, and something has happened to Sam Bailey, who has dropped down to fourth. Now, I don't think that was linked to Jake Bailey's off, and I can confirm it is Jake Bailey that was off up at Shell, but something has happened to Sam to result in him losing all of those positions. So Orange still leading the way. Can Josh Jackson find a way through? That now becomes the question. And if he can, you would imagine he can pull away, because in the dry, in race 1, he certainly was able to do that. But then some drivers excel in the dry, some drivers excel in the wet, and maybe struggle in different conditions. So just because Josh Jackson was the dominant force in race 1 doesn't necessarily mean he will be in race 2, past the yellow flag zone and the stricken car of Jake Bailey. Unfortunately, we've been getting used to saying that here today at Oulton Park, and let's just hope he's not done too much damage, because he'll have a third attempt at getting to the end of the race in race number 3 later on, in which he'll once again have to come from the back of the field. But he proved in this race that he's got the speed to do it, just needs to keep it on the island. He's having a weekend a bit like Josh Jackson had at Cadwell last time out. Very quick, bang on the pace, just a few too many mistakes. And those mistakes, had we been competing for championship points, are the kind of mistakes that can take you out of championship contention. As it is, there are no points on offer for the MX-5 Super Series. It is just a series of races for fun, basically, and for, you know, track time and testing. Maybe many of these drivers will also be competing in the MX-5 Super Cup, supporting TCR UK, who of course will be visiting Oulton Park later in the year. So that, I think, possibly has something to do with the fact that the entry list has swelled this weekend. What's really building nicely, though, is this battle for the lead, as Josh Jackson again is all over the back of Simon Orange down towards Hislop's, but difficult enough to overtake here in the dry, let alone in the wet. So it stays the same. Bit of understeer there on the way in for Jackson, who's really hunting around for the grippy side of the road. They're not a million miles ahead of Sam Bailey either, who'll be trying to fight back. Oh no, Simon Orange! Oh no, he's made the mistake, and bang into the tyre wall. He actually climbs up on top of the tyre wall slightly there before rejoining, but that was a real shame for Simon Orange, who was thus far resisting the pressure really well, but made the mistake and off he went. Now thankfully it was a relatively low speed impact into the tyre wall, so he should be able to rejoin, but a long way down the order, and that has handed the keys to this race victory to Josh Jackson, surely, because although Sam Bailey has been able to close in as a result of that, well, let's wait and see. Let's count no chickens just yet, because Jackson is still pushing on and looks to be having to work a little bit harder for this one than he did in race 1. Sam Bailey, on the other hand, always has been fairly handy in the wet and is not a million miles back. They're getting encouragement from the pit wall. So that means that Jeremy Crook is now up into 3rd place as well, and Jeremy is looking for his first podium finish of the season so far, having missed out in race 1 when he finished 4th by only a second or so. There is Simon Orange. Now the car doesn't look too badly damaged. It was the rear left corner that hit the wall. Well, I don't think he's even lost the brake light, has he? I think that car is more or less intact. He's got Patrick Collins trying to get up the inside of him, though, down towards Cascades, and Patrick was coming through there, whether Simon liked it or not, and Simon's all out of shape again. Oh, look at that. What a save that was from Simon Orange. His car control has been sublime in this race. Okay, it failed him down at Knickerbrook last time around, but we've seen quite a few sideways antics from Simon in this race, and Sideways Simon, as he shall now be known, is really putting on a show at Oulton Park, being in the dry in race 1 or the wet in race 2. Unfortunately, the result is not quite going to be there that arguably he deserved, but that one mistake under intense pressure from Josh Jackson eventually has cost him a chance of a race victory. But who knows if it's wet again for race 3, or even if it's not wet, even if it dries out, which I think it looks like it might do, he could still come charging through the order in that one. It's back out of Britain's over Hilltop and into the Hislop chicane to go again. There's Jeff Gurrier, the blue and red car at the front of the shot. Then James Kell and Patrick Collins, and Collins starting to come back at James Kell slightly now, having found a way past Simon Woods and now Simon Orange, who again locks up into Hislops this time. So it's not the rear of the car breaking loose, it's the front of the car that's not working right. That whack in the tyre wall won't have done wonders for the handling either, I'm sure, even though it appears to be running okay. I'm sure there's something been knocked a bit askew. But he gets his way through Nickenbrook a little bit more cleanly on this occasion. It seems that everyone who's got themselves into the lead of this race have done their very best to throw it all away. Let's hope for Josh Jackson's sake that he doesn't do the same. There's Simon Orange though, and the pace hasn't been there since that off, so you have to suspect there may possibly have been some sort of damage done, or possibly he's just decided to just bring the car home rather than risk pushing it too hard, making another mistake and doing even more damage. Let's just not compound the issue. Once you've fallen out of the race lead, I suppose there's not that much point in taking great risks, because it's not like you have championship points to think about. So really, Simon just needs to bring it home. There's another race to come later on, and hopefully in that one he can get himself back up onto the podium where he was in race number 1. That was for the first time, of course, in 2018 that Simon Orange got on the podium. He has lost a wing mirror somewhere along the line, presumably from that impact with the tyre wall, so he won't be able to see much out of his left-hand side, but then there's no one immediately behind him, so that's sideways again there coming out of Cascades. But every time he gets sideways, he's just losing time to Collins in front. There is the next battle going on, Simon Woods and Simon Fleet. Of course, Fleet recovering from a first lap spin down at Britain's, and we're about to head into that sequence of corners now, leading up to the British chicane, and he's struggling to find a way past Simon Wood, another driver for whom this weekend has promised much but delivered relatively little so far. He's on the inside of Simon Woods through Shell. Simon, though, with the grippier side of the road, gets the better speed out of the corner and holds on to the place. So Simon Woods defending well, using the circuit to his advantage and not making it easy for Simon Fleet to make his way past him. So back on board with Simon now as he heads down into the Hislop chicane, getting into the latter stage of this race now. Possibly only one more lap to go. Maybe we might squeeze 2 in. Turning through Hislops. Here are the leaders. Josh Jackson, well, he's not raced away from Sam Bailey, it has to be said. If he were to make a mistake, Sam would be straight in there like a rat of a drain pipe. But Josh Jackson, you get the sense, is just measuring this race out quite nicely. Turns his way into Lodge. Oh, runs a bit wide there, though. And makes his way back through Deer Leap, still in the race lead, but Sam Bailey certainly is close enough to mount a challenge here. One more lap to go, so this one ain't over yet. Let's not hand this one to Jackson just yet. Through Old Hall, back into the quick run down the avenue, and Bailey actually closing in this time through the first corner. He'll get even closer as they go into Cascades. And he's really close now. He's right on the tail of Josh Jackson, so there's going to be some defending to do here for Jackson on the final lap, who has not seemed quite as comfortable in these wet conditions as some of the other drivers have. He's just made fewer mistakes than the likes of Sam Bailey and Simon Woods, who have both had opportunities to lead the race. Well, Sam Bailey wants to get the lead back. Up through Island Bend they go, in towards the Shell hairpin. In the wet, it becomes all the more difficult to find a way through. He'll try and take a nice wide line through here. Actually, no, Jackson goes up the hill a bit wider. Bailey, you can see that the track is almost dry now as they go through the corner. There's only a hint of moisture being kicked up by the tyres. Britain's next, and then try and get a good exit from here maybe. Have a go down in towards Hislops. That's probably the next opportunity for Sam Bailey to get through, but he doesn't get a good exit. Gets a bit sideways on the exit of the right-hand portion of the chicane. Hurt his speed up the hill. He's not close enough to attack into Hislops, so really the last opportunity to find a way through is going to be into Lodge Corner. So like so many races over the years here at Oulton Park, this one is going to go right down to the wire. You get lots of close racing at Oulton Park, it's just not that easy to pass, so that's probably why you get so much close racing, because even if you're a bit slower than the cars behind, it's relatively easy to defend the position. Not that I'm saying Jackson is significantly slower than Sam Bailey, but Sam at this stage of the race seems to have a bit of pace advantage. 2 more corners to go. Druid's the first. The leaves on the track there, an added challenge, an added obstacle for them to negotiate, and it's a good run out of there for Sam Bailey, so I think Jackson might just have to defend down towards Lodge for the final time. Yes, he does. He's taking no risks, hugs the inside of the road. Sam Bailey holds the middle ground. Oh, Jackson runs out wide, though. Jackson runs out wide. He missed his braking point there. Oh, but Bailey loses traction on the exit of the corner, and that will mean that Jackson's able to hang on, but it was a real close run thing there. Checkered flag once again for the 7th time this year goes to Josh Jackson. Sam Bailey gets his first podium finish of 2018, sorry, second podium finish of the season, I beg your pardon. And coming home in 3rd place will be Jeremy Crook, and that is his first podium of the season. Well, that was a really entertaining race. You can always guarantee that the weather, when it rains, it will spice things up nicely. Jackson from Bailey from Crook, your top 3. Then it's Jeff Gurrier 4th, and James Kell with a season best 5th, ahead of Patrick Collins, Simon Orange, Simon Woods, Simon Fleet, and Javier Brook. Then it's Matt Pickford, Andy Fagan, and Liz Walton. We lost from that one Russ Lyndsay, Jake Bailey, George Grant, and Pepe Planeta.
Josh, you're starting to get a name as the comeback kid here.
Yeah, no, we had a bad cab well, but we've made some changes, and yeah, it just seems to be going well now, so it's all right.
So race 2, that was a fabulous finish. How did you get on after that rain?
Yeah, no, it was definitely tricky. I got a rubbish start, really. Ended up 4th or something. But it was all about staying on, really, so we kept it on the black stuff, and it was enough.
Brilliant. So obviously this afternoon looks like it's going to be dry. Have you got completely different plans now?
We'll wait for a better start and see if we can do the same again. So 2 from 3, so let's see what we can do.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Sam, started P2, finished P2. Are you happy with that?
Yes, I led the race though for a while. Had an absolute corking start, and I should have won really, but I outbraked myself into shallow oils bends. Went round the gravel instead of the tarmac, so that slowed me up. But luckily, one incident and another, I managed to get myself back up to P2. So pleased with that. Another lap, and I might have even had him.
So that was torrential downpour out there at the last second. Were you prepared going in?
We'd sort of got the cars semi-prepared. We were still on our tyres from earlier today, so we weren't on the wet tyres, but we'd got a wet setup. So best we could have hoped for, and thanks to Blink for sorting that out for me.
Brilliant. Well, we'll see you in race 3. Hopefully the same sort of thing. Jeremy, this is a fantastic result for you, and I couldn't be more pleased. This is the best one ever, I believe.
It is. It's my best result ever in racing, and I can't quite believe it. It's good, yeah. Yes, we've had a great day. We got a 4th place in race 1 this afternoon, and I didn't think we'd do any better than that, but we have done. And I've got to say a huge big thanks to firstly the guys at Paul Sheard Racing who've helped me get here, and also my sponsor, which is the George at Spaldwick, which is the best pub in the world. How about that?
Oh, well, I might have to take a trip on down myself. But have you got high hopes going into the final race of today?
Well, it would be nice to get another podium, wouldn't it? And make 2 of these, but we'll see where we get to. I sat on the grid for this race just after we'd had that monumental downpour, and I thought, I don't want to be here. I'm soaking wet, and you couldn't see anything, and it was actually quite scary. But anyway, we did it, and 3rd place. How about that?
Brilliant. Well, we hope to see more of what has to come.
Thank you very much, Lyndsay, and great day.